Donald Trump feels his back against the wall. Donald Trump is more panicked than ever, and Donald Trump is losing his mind. So it is no wonder that he is targeting his biggest enemy, what makes him most upset, and that's the media, because Donald Trump has been facing down more bad press over the past month than maybe we have ever seen in his entire political career. And so he is launching threats and he is launching attacks at the hosts at MSNBC, and we are going to get into it all in the insane post that Trump made. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we can get into this insane post, this insane threat from Donald Trump, we got to start with why it came about, and that's with Rachel Maddow calling out Trump's takeover of D.C.
In Washington, D.C., homicides are down 32%, robberies are down 39%, armed carjackings are down 53%, assaults with a dangerous weapon are down 27%. In Washington, D.C., the rates of burglaries and assaults with a dangerous weapon are at their lowest point in 30 years. Nevertheless, because he's so tough on crime, President Trump today deployed hundreds of National Guardsmen and women into Washington, D.C. Send the U.S. military to become the police force in Washington, D.C. The lead in the Washington Post tonight, quote, President Donald Trump announced today that he is placing the D.C. police under direct federal control and will deploy the National Guard to the streets of Washington, an extraordinary flex of federal power that strips city leadership of its ability to make law enforcement decisions and could expose residents of the nation's capital to unpredictable encounters with a domestically deployed military force. A domestically deployed military force. Because tough on crime. You think it's really about crime? You think it's really about being tough on crime? Do you want to maybe track down the axe and machete triple murderer Trump just released to the streets of Orlando to go ask him if he thinks it's about being tough on crime? Or you maybe want to pop in to ask Ghislaine at that Bureau of Prisons crown jewel facility that kind of looks like a community college? You want to go ask her? Think it's because he's so tough on crime? That said, I mean, let's be generous here. Maybe it's not really just a generic tough on crime thing. Maybe it's specifically because it's D.C., which is the seat of the U.S. federal government. So even for a city enjoying a 30-year low in violent crime, maybe that's still just an intolerable amount of crime, specifically because it's D.C., and D.C. is where the federal government is, and maybe he's just really sensitive about protecting the federal government. Maybe he's really sensitive and really focused when it comes to protecting the seat of the federal government from any kind of crime. January 6th, no, forget about that. He's just sensitive about it now.
There are so many Republican narratives that are so quickly falling apart right now. The first and foremost, that they care about law and order or keeping people safe. That's not what's happening in D.C., and it's certainly not what's happening with Donald Trump's Jeffrey Epstein scandal. It's not what's happening with Ghislaine Maxwell. So don't give me anything. I don't want to hear a word about how Republicans want to keep kids safe, want to keep women safe, how Republicans want to protect law and order. It's nonsensical. It is not true. All of that is being blown up. And this macho attitude, this macho manly projection that they try to make of themselves is also falling apart, because Donald Trump continues to be humiliated on the world stage. And that was made very clear by another MSNBC host who clearly has Trump losing it.
And on the first overseas trip that Trump took, H.R. McMaster and Dina Powell called back to the press in the U.S., urging us to take all of his live remarks, because at the next speech they would say he's going to affirm America's commitment to Article 5. He's going to affirm our commitment to NATO, not just because we're the only country that's ever drawn out of our Article 5 commitment, that an attack on one is an attack on all, but because he understands the value of NATO. No one has said the word NATO all day long.
Nope.
I mean, Trump didn't say it. Putin didn't say it. No one has said NATO all day long. And so I think the Kremlin message is that they recognized in Trump a post-NATO American president, which is just a gut blow. It goes to, I mean, you go to a baseball game in this country, a Major League Baseball game or a minor league baseball game, and if they have a World War II veteran in attendance, they're honored and they're given a flag by some player that isn't playing that night. It is who we are.
Donald Trump in Alaska was weak ineffective, tired, clearly in cognitive decline, so much so that his own staff was terrified afterwards. There are reports that the expression on the face of Carolyn Leavitt was shock and awe, like she had seen a ghost, it was so bad. And that reporting is the reason why we now see Trump lashing out once again. She will be fired soon. Trump declares war on MSNBC host Nicole Wallace. Donald Trump on Sunday declared that MSNBC host Nicole Wallace would be fired soon. It's not clear what Wallace did to get under Trump's skin, but the comment came after Trump posted "bele" on social media without any additional context. The word went viral and led to confusion and speculation about what he meant. In the comments on the post, a MAGA account with a bio reading, "I block ugly Democrat voters are ugly, cat women with a fake photo are blocked," posted a meme that includes the phrase, "Typhoid Mary Nicole Wallace, clown news, and Nicole Wallace is afraid of losing her job, get her a wambulance." Trump chose to share that meme on his page, writing with it, "She is a loser with bad ratings who has already thrown off The View. She will be fired soon," Trump exclaimed. "MSNBC is dead." So the unsurprising, constant ramblings of our cognitively declining president once again emerge. This is all we ever hear or see from Donald Trump in an attempt to distract from the many failures of his administration. But I want to come back to something that I heard Gavin Newsom say recently when talking with Beto O'Rourke, which is we can't be numb to Donald Trump. We cannot say, "That's unsurprising. Yep, awful, but I expected it. Ugh, that's just Trump being Trump." We can't do that. We can't numb ourselves to this moment. Sure, we can have the expectation that he'll be batshit crazy, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't respond with adequate firepower like Gavin is in California. And as I continue to say, I hear a lot of Democratic governors talking like Gavin Newsom, but there's only one acting like Gavin Newsom. So Kathy Hochul, J.B. Pritzker, Wes Moore, if you would kindly fall in line and do your job standing up for this democracy, it'd be much appreciated. Because it is a fight that Trump is actively bringing to the streets. So gear up and get out there. Rachel Maddow continued to break down that fight and how pathetic it is in Washington right here.
That said, I mean, let's be generous here. Maybe it's not really just a generic tough on crime thing. Maybe it's specifically because it's D.C., which is the seat of the U.S. federal government. So even for a city enjoying a 30-year low in violent crime, maybe that's still just an intolerable amount of crime, specifically because it's D.C., and D.C. is where the federal government is, and maybe he's just really sensitive about protecting the federal government. Maybe he's really sensitive and really focused when it comes to protecting the seat of the federal government from any kind of crime. January 6th, no, forget about that. He's just sensitive about it now. Maybe that's it. Well, let's see. Today's Monday. On Friday, this happened. A sustained violent attack on the headquarters of the federal government Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. See all those little pockmarks, those little holes? Those are bullet holes in the CDC. The gunman reportedly tried to get into the CDC headquarters in Atlanta. Security guards turned him away. He then drove to a nearby business, a nearby pharmacy, and took up a shooting position there. The Associated Press reports today that the man fired more than 180 shots into the headquarters of the Centers for Disease Control. More than 180 shots fired. He was found with 5 guns, including 4 long guns, and bullets that he fired at the CDC broke at least 150 windows. The bullets pierced blast-resistant windows in multiple buildings and spat glass shards into multiple offices. 1 police officer was killed. The gunman died as well. It's not clear if he shot himself or was shot by law enforcement. It is a miracle, obviously, that CDC personnel other than the police officer protecting them were not killed. The head of the agency that includes the CDC, Donald Trump's health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, posted this online after the shooting. Then he posted this one as well. This is what he was posting the day after the shooting at the CDC, when a gunman fired more than 180 bullets into the headquarters of the Centers for Disease Control. This was the reaction of the man in charge of that agency. This was his response. It wasn't until later, and after he finished posting his fishing pictures, that he got around to expressing condolences for the, shooting or whatever. This major attack on a federal government facility, again, 180 shots fired into the CDC. This major attack on a federal government facility has so far garnered no response whatsoever from President Donald Trump, let alone an armed response into Atlanta, where the CDC headquarters is. But he did send in the National Guard to Washington, D.C. today because tough on crime, you think? Maybe it's not about crime. Maybe it's not about defending the federal government from threats, right? Maybe it's not about that. Maybe it's not about crime. Maybe it's not about any other thing he might voice. Maybe it's what you can see with your own two eyes. Maybe it's that he really enjoys using U.S. military force against American civilians on American soil and wants any excuse to do it anywhere he can. Watch what they do, not what they say. Because, given what else he's done on the issue of crime, does it make sense that him sending in the troops for a military takeover of Washington, D.C. is about crime? That's what he said. But what do you think based on what he's done? Because meanwhile, while he's talking about crime, he has sent in the National Guard and active duty U.S. Marines to Los Angeles as well, right? Supposedly to save that city from protests against him. That deployment was so inexplicable and so palpably disconnected from its purported justifications that the LA Times reported on a spike in calls to the GI rights hotline, with military personnel telling that hotline they didn't want to be deployed to point guns at citizens. Military personnel telling that hotline they, quote, didn't want to be on the side of being armed occupiers in their own country.
It is embarrassing, and as a resident of Washington, D.C., it is extremely unsettling seeing Donald Trump unleash troops for no reason other than to distract and set a precedent to be able to do so in the future. But we got to make sure he cannot do so, which is why we're fighting back and calling it out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.